as well now. And we'll see if it was just to portray it negatively or if there was any truth to it or any lies to it. And so after this documentary, among many black supporters of Winnie Mandela, Stratcom effectively became shorthand for all criticism of the ANC's anti-apartheid struggle, as well as the incompetence and the corruption and the human rights abuses being committed by the ANC today. You cannot criticize the ANC today without having a lot of people just say that you are perpetuating the old Stratcom apartheid propaganda. And this is in effect used to basically silence any dissent and to also take away any of the logic from your argument and make it seem like you are just basically repeating everything that the apartheid government had fed people during the 70s and 80s. Even somebody like myself that tried to take an objective look at the ANC and what they are doing today is being seen as the Stratcom agent or someone that was heavily influenced by Stratcom, even though I was not alive at the time when they were running these campaigns. But let's get to the question. Did Stratcom actually convey misinformation or lies? Let's see what they claimed about Winnie Mandela, for instance, the person we talked about here. The main claim was that Stratcom exaggerated her role in the brutal murder of Stompie Saipai, one of the boys at the Mandela United Football Club, who was kidnapped and then later murdered. And as multiple eyewitness testimonies during the Truth and Reconciliation Commission confirmed, she was not only personally present when he was tortured to death, but even encouraged this torture. She also for years protected the man who eventually killed Stompie. And this was being said in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So Stratcom did bring this to light, but they did not fabricate this in any way. Even when the media interviewed a former Stratcom operative and asked him how they went about with an anti-Winnie Mandela propaganda campaign, the best example he could come up with was that they may have exaggerated how drunk she got at parties. Just how ridiculous this is. So we're going to take a look at this video. It's actually very funny because this man is now fully into the Rainbow Nation and he wants to show everyone how Rainbow Nation-esque he is. So let's see what he has to say. This was one of the former apartheid Stratcom operatives. Let me just see if the sound works. Just tell me in a comment if the sound works when I play the video, because last time it didn't work.
It was simply to run the secret war and effectively what the Russians call Department 13 or Black Ops.
Meet Paul Erasmus, a former security branch policeman hired to wage a secret war against enemies of the apartheid government. The 62-year-old reveals some of the tactics the Stratcom unit used to try and destroy Winnie Madikizela Mandela's reputation.
It worked something like this. When he would go to a party or meeting and there'd be alcohol involved, I would, whether she was drunk or not, I would say that she was drunk. And this type of stuff eventually evolved into letters that I would drop on the press, locally and internationally, that Winnie was a hopeless drunkard. She was unstable. She was having relationships with everything that came along. And for good measure, I included Zinzi. And actually wrote pieces which were believed, which were outrageous. In fact, when I read them now, I can't even believe it that Winnie and Zinzi went on these drunken brawls together. And then on the political side as well, the whole thing was to drive divisions between her and, of course, the party.
Oh, goodness, sorry, the sound was off on my microphone. I said, so do you find this quite funny that all of the most damning parts of what Stratcom revealed about Winnie Mandela specifically was in fact true and found true by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The fact that all these boys were kidnapped by the Mandela United Football Club and some were tortured and Stompie was murdered, all of those parts were true. And even though Stratcom actually didn't make up that Winnie Mandela was drunk, but merely admit to having exaggerated how drunk she was. As for the extramarital affairs, we all know that was true as well. You know, Mandela later divorced her after coming out of jail, after Winnie Mandela herself admitted to having multiple affairs while being married to Nelson Mandela, including an affair with Dali Mpofu, the advocate who was, I don't know if he's with the EFF anymore, but he was once a big figure within the EFF. And also the fact that she, as an older woman, had many affairs with all these young members of the Mandela United Football Club, some of whom were not even of age, well, not even 18. Of course, in South Africa, our age of consent is lower than in most Western countries where it's 18. But she did admit having affairs with all these people. So they may have highlighted this and written sensationalist pieces about Winnie Mandela, but they didn't actually, in this case, make things up. And this is very relevant here that we talk about Winnie Mandela, because it's precisely about Winnie Mandela that the documentary came out and they said, look, the apartheid government was making all of these things up about ANC members in order to discredit the ANC. But actually, most of what they had said here was true. For example, there's a 1996 article by S.G. Gate, an American news outlet based in Los Angeles, with a sensationalist headline about Mandela's divorce, wherein Winnie Mandela is described as a cheat based on Nelson Mandela's own testimony. This is a respectable American news outlet doing nothing different from what Stratcom did. They just basically talked about the fact that Winnie Mandela was cheating on Nelson Mandela. So in this sense, we also see that they were not trying to push lies here. Let me just show you that. And there we see Mandela's divorce as leader calls wife a cheat. So in this sense, they basically just pushed white propaganda. They basically were nothing more than just investigative journalists in this particular sense, except for the fact that they described her as being a drunk. And while this particular event got a lot of the attention because of this documentary on Winnie Mandela's life, this was not at all the heart of Stratcom's propaganda activities. What it did was highlight the ANC's communist ideology in the context of the Cold War, and particularly its ties to the Soviet Union. It highlighted that the National Party government served as a bastion against the expansion of communism in Africa in the context of the Cold War. This was the main thing that Stratcom, the main propaganda that Stratcom was actually pushing during those times. It framed the ANC as a Leninist movement, which of course by Joe Slovo's.
Now let's make some yummy tin roof cookie cups using a muffin tray to create a cookie bowl. And when purchased,
he was the man that authored the Freedom Charter, and most of the documents that the ANC still get their ideological guidance from was authored by Joe Slovo, who was a proud Leninist. The brains behind Nelson Mandela, as we said in a previous YouTube video where we actually did an entire history on the relationship between Nelson Mandela and Joe Slovo. Joe Slovo was the ANC's greatest ideologue, a self-identified Leninist. Stratcom also highlighted that the ANC wasn't interested in power sharing, but wanted a violent revolution. And even this is exactly true. We saw in 1994 with the immense political violence that was committed by the ANC against the IFP Natal, and we see it today with the ANC simply pushing through its downright communist agenda with laws such as expropriation without compensation. All of these things are true. It's in the ANC's own founding documents, and even though people are saying that they had become more moderate, they just became much slower in the sense that they are still pushing the exact same ideological bills as they were saying that they are going to do in the Freedom Charter